Hey there, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we'll be diving into the mind-bending realm where perception meets reality with some mysterious stories we found on Reddit. This is the top 4 glitches in reality when Redditors realize they'd experienced something wrong. Story 4, from Redditor Real Abstract Squid II. When my brother and I were 10 and 12 respectively, our family went on a hike through the cemetery and into the woods not far from our house. My brothers and I would explore these woods every day. I even camped in them before. We knew it like the back of our hands. Anyway, as the family hits our usual spot by the creek halfway through, my brother and I said we'd be back in a few. We wanted to wander off further up the creek, so we did. We came across a very large hill we had never seen before. It was littered with what looked like someone's worldly possessions, as if they turned a house upside down, shook out the contents, took the house and left. A lot of X's were drawn on the trees, which showed that someone planned to cut them down at some point. There was a time when we thought we heard our mom yelling at us. We turned around and walked back down the hill about 20 feet to find our parents. The whole thing took about 45 minutes, at least on our end. We got the worst beating of our lives as soon as our mom saw us. We had been gone for almost 4 hours. It was 20 feet away, but she never saw us go up the hill. Instead, she saw us wandering down the straight road by the creek without turning up a hill. We were lost for more than 4 hours while she, her husband, and our other brothers screamed our names. They couldn't find us. We tried to make our case and even showed her the hill. She had to be joking with us. We walked up to the hill's turnoff and saw that it was gone, not to be seen. We searched the woods for years, determined to find that fucking hill. We went through miles and miles of woods that weren't marked. As we grew up, we made plans. It's still not there, that hill. It was never found again. The strange furniture, toys, clothes, and other household things that were spread out across the hill were never found. And we never met anyone in the area who knew anything about the hill. I always thought it was strange that we never found the hill again, but I think we just got lost and went a long way off track. Story 3, from Redditor Reconstruct. Many years ago, 2 of my best friends and I decided to go for a day of mountain biking at Snowshoe in southern West Virginia. Now, this was way before the days of GPS, so we were kind of doing this with some half-assed directions and an old map. But the point is, we got very lost. Somewhere along the way, we ended up in this very tiny little town, and we figured we would ask for directions. It was absolutely deserted. I'm talking not a single soul to be seen anywhere. We parked the truck and split up, looking for anyone. Now, this was at around 9 to 10 a.m., so not exactly the ass crack of dawn, mind you. We went into the post office, but nobody. We went into the only bar in town, which was unlocked and unattended with music playing, but not a single person present. We went business to business to business and walked the streets. And after about 25, we finally found one old guy who just seemed to appear out of nowhere in the middle of town walking alone. The first question we asked him wasn't even for directions. It was, "Where the hell is everyone?" To which he replied, "Well, I guess folks around here don't get up much till around noon." We asked him for directions to Snowshoe, and he pointed to the road we came in on and said to go that way about 10 miles, make a right, and we will find the interstate. We left quickly. We all had a very bad sense of unease about the whole thing. As we drove off, we hit a woman in a state highway outfit who was holding a stop sign in the middle of a very long straightaway. She was about 5 miles down the road. She changed the sign from slow to stop when we got close. What was going on? She said that there would be road work coming up. When we told her what had happened, she laughed and said, "Those people in that town are kind of weird, but let it go." We started talking to each other while we were waiting for a line of cars coming the other way. It turned out that we talked to her for 45 minutes to an hour, just shooting the breeze. I got lost in the conversation. Not a single car ever came up behind us or from the other way. She finally said, "I guess it's clear now. You guys can go ahead." She then slowly changed the sign from stop to slow and waved for us to go ahead. We went straight ahead, which was the only way to go for the next 30 miles or so. We didn't see any construction, state road workers, or repair work going on at all. Since she didn't have a car, we thought she might be a flagwoman who was dropped off by a crew ahead. We broke off with the town and this woman because we had had enough. As soon as we found the freeway, we got on it and went north to get home. After all these years, we all still remember this whole thing very clearly. I asked my friend about it at this wedding about 3 months ago, and it still scares him to death. Story 2, from Redditor Literal9. My grandparents had a big farm when I was growing up, and all the grandkids would help work it over the summer when we were out of school. We were told to use the hoe or the pistol to kill any rabbits we saw. This rabbit was in the beans when I was about 12 years old. I didn't want my grandfather to see it, so I tried to scare it away. I kept following it through the brush on the land, even though I usually lost sight of them pretty quickly when they got into the bush. I kept following it until I came across what looked like the remains of an old barn. These happen all the time where I'm from, and it's fun to look inside them, so I did. Strangely, it was kept up really well, with new hay and old tools that were still in great shape. I was afraid I'd walked into our neighbor's land, so I quickly left. When I told my grandpa what happened, he said our land went much further than what I had said. I couldn't have left our land in the short time I was gone, so he went out with me, and we couldn't find it. Anytime I worked there in the summer, I looked for it, but never found it. Although not scary, I never understood where that barn went. Story 1, from an unknown Redditor. A friend of mine had this happen to them about 20 years ago. It was his job to put in double-glazed windows, and he and his crew would often go on trips all over Kent and the southeast of the UK. They chose to drive home instead of stopping at a bed and breakfast because one of the jobs he had wasn't too far from home. They got back home pretty late at night. It was dark, the roads were empty, and it was cold, so not many people were walking around. They were going along a pretty straight road when they came across a pretty ordinary town. A pub and a corner store were the only things that were really there. Other than that, it was mostly just houses. After about 5 minutes, some of his friends started to complain that they were thirsty and that there must be a pub nearby. He told them to go back to the village after having gone around. When they turned around and drove back, there was no village there. There were only fields. They couldn't have been wrong because there was no other way to go. There was only one straight road. Have you ever experienced a glitch in reality like in these stories? If so, be sure to tell us about it in the comments below. Let's explore the world of visual deception together. Until next time, keep questioning and stay curious.